Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. It's questions and answers time. And so unmute yourself, type in, ask about anybody or anything. So,
And you can start us off, Ralph.
hey Ralph.
Hey Greg, how you doing tonight?
Hey,
Good. A local physical therapist asked me if there's an oil that will loosen up or soothe tendons.
so you have a couple of things. Like we use chocolate root cleanser or Kunzia to increase like ranges of motion and things like that. And
Mhm.
we've actually had physical therapists go through and test it on the machines for range of motion.
Yeah.
Dealing with like tendonitis, or you're just wanting to loosen up the tendons themselves, a combination of helichrysum and Eucalyptus citrodora is like even amounts is
Yeah.
really super good for tendons as well. If
Okay.
there's a tear, Shazandra is what helps kind of build the tendon back up. If
Yeah.
there's an injury or a tear or something like that. But so for ranges of motion, just to recap, chocolate root cleanser or Kunzia,
Yeah.
applied topically in the area that you're treating.
Okay.
If it's like a tendon where it's like the muscle's okay, but you're really trying to really super loosen up the tendon itself,
Mhm.
helichrysum and Eucalyptus citrodora together.
Okay.
And if it's a tear, Shazandra.
Okay. So if I wanted to do a roller ball of the helichrysum and Eucalyptus citrodora,
Uh-huh.
so it would just be the sesame oil base, and then
Yeah, usually I use like a jojoba just because the jojoba doesn't go rancid, and that people inhale for a long period of time, and so it gives it a much longer shelf life.
okay.
Can do it with sesame. Sesame still has a shelf life of several years,
Mhm.
but if it's exposed to heat or something like that, it could shorten the life. Especially
Okay.
if it's direct sunlight and things like that, where jojoba is not impacted by that.
Okay.
And so that could be done that way. And we can make an extra strength, like little ointment, like 1 ounce, where you take it and rub it on the area. I mean,
Mhm.
because there you'll want to rub it onto the area,
Okay.
Yeah, just inhaling it'll help, but you're really going to need the topical application for
Oh,
that. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Is there a favorite brand or such of jojoba that you like?
Um, uh, I can't remember. I can look that up and we can email it to you. Like I
Okay.
buy like 15 gallons or something at once. So
Yeah,
I'll
it's a
have to
little
go back.
more than I had in mind, but yeah.
Yeah, but you can buy just like little things of jojoba, like at the health food store or something.
Okay.
You know, if you're making an ointment, I probably would use the sesame, but like in a roller ball, just because roller balls, they might get left in the car, they might, people might do different things with them. And
Mm-hmm.
so I try to make the roller balls as foolproof as possible.
Yeah.
And so that's why I use jojoba. But if you're going to be using it over the next year or something like that, I would say rule of thumb with sesame oil is probably a 3-year shelf life, maybe,
Okay.
as long as there's no big sun exposure.
All right. Thanks for the tip.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Is it a tendon for you or is it just in general?
No, it's for one of her clients.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Perfect.
And Claire's going in for a sciatica nerve problem.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to put mugwort. Mugwort? Yeah, I think it's mugwort. No. The hell is it? Anyway, I've got a oil mix that I put on myself to loosen up tight muscles and things.
Okay.
Anything else that you would recommend
Um,
for
like
sciatica?
like sciatica, just because there's like, nerve pain that's sharp and stabbing, like anything that's mint oriented, like peppermint, ornament, things like that, it will have an antispasmodic effect, anti-inflammatory, and reduce the pain pretty substantially.
Okay.
You'd want to apply it on the butt cheek, and if it's going down the leg, you do it down in the leg, and sometimes it goes into the calf or along the shin. And so you would go through and rub it on that area. But the big key spot is the butt cheek, just
Okay.
center of the butt cheek.
Okay.
Marjoram could work too. Marjoram won't reduce pain like the peppermint will, but it will still have an antispasmodic effect. There's been times where I've even used terebinth on that, not for pain management, but just to unwind the piriformis, which usually you're dealing with piriformis syndrome, which is this big muscle that goes directly across the butt cheek, like
Yeah.
a little bit at an angle, but it goes across the butt cheek, and
Okay.
it's compressing the sciatic nerve up against the pubic bone, and so that can be helpful as well.
Okay. And what oil was that again? I missed it.
Terebinth.
Terebinth.
Mhm.
Okay. Can I mix like 10 drops of marjoram and 10 drops of peppermint together?
Yeah, that would work.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
And then go ahead, Barbara.
Hey, Miss Barbara.
Hey there. I think I've missed this in 2 or 3 classes, but my question is, what is the meaning of life?
So she's come in late a few
Right,
times. That's what I heard.
I just thought I'd throw that out. Seems there weren't any hands up, but no, I was inspired by Ralph's question. A week ago, I lost my balance getting out of my kayak and fell and broke my fall with my hand,
Okay.
right hand. And I've been thinking it might be a tendon issue, or first I thought it was just a sprain. It's better.
Does it
But
hurt when you go like this?
It does, yes.
What about when you twist?
It was for a while, that's better, but it definitely hurts bending it forward. And it seems sometimes tender in between the middle and ring finger, and sometimes in between the first and middle finger.
Okay.
So it's shifting a little bit, and I don't know what I'm trying to treat.
And you don't think anything got fractured or anything like that? It's just probably a strain.
I don't think anything got fractured.
Okay. Okay.
There's a place the bone feels a little bumpy, but
Yeah. Okay. I would say a couple of things. Like marjoram's always good for sprains, strains, things like that. And even how we were talking with Ralph about peppermint, like peppermint can be good for sprains and strains. I don't like to use that long term just because peppermint can have a little bit more heat than other things, and you're dealing with inflammation as well as a sprain or a strain. And so I do like the idea of something like German chamomile or yarrow or blue healer on that area, just to reduce inflammation and to disperse any sort of inflammation that is accumulated around the joints, or that carpal tunnel or anything like in that area. Helichrysum is always can be used in a situation like this. It's antispasmodic, it's anti-inflammatory, reduces pain. It's something you would use with tendons that are irritated. And going back to what Ralph was saying, like even the use of helichrysum and Eucalyptus citrodora for a little while, that combination, the Eucalyptus citrodora is very anti-inflammatory as well. And it helps just to remove deposits and things that might accumulate in the joint. So it just keeps things from accumulating. And, granted, it's an acute injury, but still you want to keep that tendon as healthy, you know, or tendons as healthy as possible. So you jammed it kind of like this, like,
Yes,
yeah.
to break a fall.
Yeah, so I would treat the palm, I would treat the wrist, and I'd even go up the forearm a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed there's some tenderness up there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes what happens is if the fall is enough, you would actually have potential areas of fractures like in this area. You know,
Mm.
but you would have to fall pretty hard. You know, like a trip and fall. I mean, it might happen, but
Yeah.
usually it takes a bit more force, you know.
Yeah, this was a falling over sideways from a few feet. It
Yeah,
wasn't a,
you're probably, it's just probably a
wasn't a-
strain, like you know, unless you hit it just right or something. And so I would just treat it like what we're talking about. And you know, as long as you know a tendon didn't get super irritated or something, it should resolve it, you know, in you know, a couple weeks maybe. You know, every day progressively getting better and better.
okay, thank you. I used helichrysum in the beginning and I'm not sure why I stopped, but in the pause, other things seem to be shifting.
Yeah,
So
I
I wasn't
mean,
sure what I was dealing with.
yeah, well, and that's the thing too with like a trauma like that is that's not like there's a kind of a template, but then there's kind of just these variations of like, you know, you're falling, but you tried to catch yourself and then you twisted your back. You know, there's like all these variations that could be in place. And so you do just kind of have to like treat and then reevaluate and treat and reevaluate. And so that's kind of normal. You know, any time that something like that also happens, it's always good to follow up with a little galbanum internally or on the wrist and a little black cumin for a little bit. Just that combination will reduce the inflammation in an acute injury like that and accelerate the healing. I find that it reduces swelling quite a bit. I think I shared that there was this one gentleman, I don't know, he was like jogging or just like running to the, like he got out of his car and was like running to the door of a store or something, and he misjudged the curb and he caught his foot and basically broke his toe, and you know, little part of the foot down by the toe. And you know, they were just fractures and everything, and the doc you know, casted him up. But after, like, I think I saw him 3 days later, and his foot was just big and swollen and, you know, was turning black and blue. And, you know, the areas that I wanted to treat were covered by the cast. And the only thing sticking out was a little bit of his toe. And it was just getting bigger. And he's like, it's just getting more and more uncomfortable. And they, you know, they had him on meds and everything. And so I was like, well, I can't treat it topically, but, you know, we gave him galbanum and black cumin, and I'd say within probably 6 or 8 hours the inflammation had gone down by maybe 60%, and the discoloration had reduced by probably about the same amount. I mean, it was crazy how much, you know, I'm used to that with helichrysum topically, but I was like, I can't treat it topically because your, you know, your foot's in a cast. And so we did that, and you know, which is kind of a standard thing we do with any acute injury. And it was amazing to watch how much that inflammation reduced. And so I would treat it topically, and I would treat it a little bit internally. If you don't have, I mean, galbanum, you can use myrrh.
I actually used galbanum for the
Yeah,
first 3 or 4 days like that.
do galbanum. Honestly, galbanum's amazing.
And then I guess I just sort of fell off it. So
Yeah.
perhaps that's why I'm feeling things more. I
Yeah.
just,
And if you don't have black cumin,
okay.
you got
That's
black
pretty
cumin?
much a daily thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, maybe just up the dosage a little bit, like double the dosage on both those for a little tiny bit, but that should really help to knock that out.
Okay, so that may be why I haven't actually had much swelling, because I did use
Probably.
helichrysum and galbanum
Yeah,
and
yeah,
black
yeah.
cumin. I
Yeah.
just didn't
'Cause
keep it up long enough, I guess.
It will knock the swelling out substantially, especially in an acute injury. Like it, I mean, it works good for chronic things as well, but something acute, like the mechanisms are a little bit different. And if you can calm that swelling, because it's an immune response, but if you can calm that down, I mean, it will change that wound substantially and really push it to healing, where sometimes it takes a little while before the healing really starts to happen. It almost starts within an hour or two. Like it's just instantaneous. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when you fell though, you didn't have like equilibrium issue or anything like that? You just kind of got stuck on something and tripped, or?
I just lost my balance.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I wasn't spacey or anything, just clumsy.
But it wasn't like an inner ear issue or anything like that, you think?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, earlier this week I tripped on our little vent cover that, like, I walked past that thing like probably 5,000 times, and this time my toe just caught the end, and I'm just like, is there something off with me? And I just realized, it's just percentages. It's just I wasn't paying attention and stuck out just enough. Sometimes it's just what it is,
Life in a body, I think, is one of.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then go ahead, Denise.
Hey, Denise.
Hi,
Hey,
I
how are
want
you?
to, I'm doing pretty good, thanks. I'm day by day. I'll take that, thank you. Listen, I want to ask, if you hit your head, because I've had head injuries in the past, if I hit my head, what's the best thing to put on and where? Like at the base of my
Helichrysum.
skull? Helichrysum?
Helichrysum topically on the spot, inhale it, and internally I would probably go back to the galbanum and the black cumin, and then maybe after 3 or 4 days I'd even start taking a little bit of helichrysum internally. The only reason I don't do the helichrysum right off the bat with a head injury is that the helichrysum can really make the blood more fluid, and if there is a little bit of bleeding inside the head, we don't want to increase it. Topically that shouldn't be an issue, but internally would make things a little more fluid and a little bit more like raise the potential. So I stay away from anything like lemon or helichrysum for about 3 days when the head hit, but like topically I put that on right off the bat just to reduce the inflammation and things like that. And the black cumin and galbanum together is very helpful if it's a long-term injury, like where the injury is longer than like a week or two old. I go pretty heavy on helichrysum, but sometimes I'll start to use spike lavender, which is a little bit different than the other lavenders, although it smells kind of the same. It's helpful with cerebral spinal fluid circulation and regulating that, and it helps the brain to detoxify a bit. And if the cerebral spinal fluid is thrown off a little bit because of the injury, it helps to regulate that. And so then after that, I just do a little bit of or not self-evaluation, but evaluation, and see what potentially is up. Because like sometimes with a head injury, there's kind of a sloshing of the brain, and there can be like some fascial lesions. And so a couple ways to treat that. Again, black cumin, again, helichrysum, and in some more extreme cases, I use this is more like if it's like 30 days out. you know, just because in the early stages, you don't really need to bother with it.
Okay.
But after 30 days, the use of MSM, and which
really?
is sulfur, and it can reduce black cumin and MSM both reduce internal like scars, you know, which is
Huh.
like a fascial lesion is what we're talking about in the brain, but it can be helpful for that. And then if there was poor blood supply for a little while, again, this is like, you know, 30, 60 days out. I do, there's a mushroom called lion's mane that I would do like a pretty good sized dosage of, like the equivalent of maybe about 6 capsules a day, you
Wow.
know, a few thousand milligrams, you know, 2 to 3,000 milligrams a day. And it will help rehab the brain due to toxicity or exposure, which could just still be like, you know, stagnant blood or lack of oxygen for a little bit. It can be helpful for that. And then sage just as the neuroprotective component for something long term.
Well, mostly I was kind of like, at least initially, like what I would do, because I forget, you know, if I get hit in the head, I really forget. So I'll make like an index card, you know,
Mhm.
know to go to it. And then I would try to get on the Q&A with you
Yeah.
after
So,
pretty quickly.
but do you bump your head a lot, or you hit your head a lot?
It's been a history of mine. I started getting some cranial sacral, and I think
Yeah.
that
Tremendous.
although with my son and all, I had to kind of take the year off, but I just started it yesterday too. It was such a gentle touch, but it was so incredibly significant on my body.
Oh,
It
good.
works very, very well for me. And maybe if I do that, Greg, maybe I will be able to keep the head injuries a little more at bay, you know. But I've had some pretty, as they would call doozers. How's that?
Like I'm curious, like you hit your head, or was it a car accident, or
Well, the first
um,
one, I was jumping on a bed. I fell backwards and cracked my head open when I was really
oh
young.
wow, that's a pretty
And then
significant.
a horse fell on top of me when I was 31. He helicoptered around, came down on and I had a significant head injury. I had blood behind my left eye, you know, cracked a couple of ribs, had a temporary paralysis of my pelvis. So that was pretty, they said that I took that just short of permanent damage. Here at this house, I was doing some artwork and I stood right up into a chandelier and a spike went right into the top of my head.
Oh
So,
yeah,
you know, so I don't know,
that's
you know, like
crazy.
right at my, yeah. And then a couple of like sideways whiplashes with somebody that hit me on my fender, you know, and another sideways type whiplash when I was probably a teenager. Oh, and then when I was young, I flipped over like one of those between the snack bars at a drive-in. I flipped
Mhm,
over my
mhm,
head off
mhm.
of one of those too. So
So you
that's
had
what I mean.
several, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
this is what I would say about that. Like when you've had like that many, like because you know the thing with head injuries is we think about it like when the head gets hit, but it can also be a head injury even when the body gets hit and jarred pretty substantially. That still will kind of slosh the brain a little bit. And so you know, it doesn't always have to be a blow to the head, you know. And then there's, you know, exposures to chemicals and things, which is still almost kind of a same version of that. And so one of the things that like I looked at, you know, this was many, many years ago, but I ran a study, like a research and development thing where we evaluated people who it was just head injuries. And I can't remember how many therapists I had under me, but we did it for like 10 or 11 months. And, you know, it was all a case by case basis. We really had to go through and evaluate because each injury is different because of, you know, how the person hit or landed or, you know, what happened. But one thing that was consistent. And it's actually funny that you're bringing this up because I was just finishing up the notes for the energetics to the glands. And that's one of the things is that when the head gets traumatized like that, one of the things that it does is it throws off how the glands function. And how the glands function then start to affect like the prefrontal cortex, regardless of where the injury is at, it will start to affect the prefrontal cortex. And so the long-term treatment as far as like, treating the fascia and the injury sites and, the lesions and all that is what I said. But I would also look at like jump starting the glands, and you can use combinations of frankincense and myrrh. You can use frankincense by itself, myrrh by itself, and the other one that's a little bit of a sleeper in this area is patchouli. Patchouli is actually very good for jump starting the glands as well. And the more that you jumpstart the glands, because you're not really trying to treat a specific gland, you're trying to stimulate all glandular activity. It will actually change some of the areas that were traumatized by the impact. And so, basically you're undoing some of the things that get thrown off by the impact. So it's not so much that you're treating the impact, you're treating the effects of the impact. And, that was one of the things like when I was young, riding a bike and everything, let's just say there was a lot of head impacts. I broke a lot of helmets. And, at first, I don't know that I'd say, oh, I noticed anything. But when I started treating the glands, I was like, man, my head's clearer, I have more energy. There's just certain things that just function better. And my attention span got better. Like a whole bunch of things got better that I don't know that I even realized they were bad.
Yeah, you don't.
But looking back, I was like, yeah, it started happening after I hit my head on the asphalt so many times. Like I because there was about a 3 or 4 year period where it was a bunch. And looking back, I can tell the before and then the time and then afterwards. And like the afterwards, my brain was working so much better after the fact. So keep that in the mix of I don't know that lemon verbena would do it as much as doing the frankincense, the myrrh, the patchouli. Like you need to just like jumpstart the glands, not even really worried about treating a particular gland. You're just trying to get them to all step up their game a bit.
And would I do it on inhalation?
Frankincense and myrrh or 3 wise men, you would take internal. Patchouli, I would put. You can take a little bit of patchouli internally, but I don't find that it would work as well. Patchouli, I would inhale and put several drops on your wrist daily.
Okay.
Like, probably 4 or 5 drops on the wrist and rub it together, and then like 30 inhalations or so on a daily basis. And you'll notice that over a period of time, your brain starts working better because the glands are working better.
Wow, that's great. And then how about the frankincense and myrrh? How would I take those? And you want me to take all 3?
You can actually just choose one. You don't have to do them all. But I would just choose like 3 wise men, or the frankincense and myrrh blend would probably be the most potent. But if you went frankincense or myrrh or patchouli, just choose one thing, and you can just kind of go down that rabbit hole. You don't have to keep doing all of them. Just pick one and just start working it.
But that would be internal and on the
frankincense, myrrh, 3 wise men, any of those I would do internal. Like you could still do inhalations, but I would do them internal. The patchouli, just because patchouli works a little bit different, I would do that through inhalation and then topical.
Excellent.
So whichever one you want to choose, like they'll all are effective for this. Just choose one of them and just go down that rabbit hole.
Thank you. I really that's great information. It's
yeah.
And for the internal 2 to 3 drops daily? Or
Yeah,
what do
2 to
you-
3 drops, but like if you know, like if something is more significant, especially with the frankincense and myrrh, you could step it up a little bit. You could do 3 drops 2 or 3 times a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good job.
You know, like if you're going to do more, maybe talk that out with me before you do it. But frankincense and myrrh, you can do bigger dosages and it's pretty okay.
Great, thank you. This
Yeah,
is
you're so
excellent information.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make up my cheat index card.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess
there you go.
Get back to
But like when you first get injured, like you know,
oh, you're sad.
do the other things that we talked about. You know, the first things we talked about. Yeah, galbanum, black cumin, a little bit of helichrysum topically, and then after about 3 or 4 days, you can start doing helichrysum internal.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Those are the
you're-
key. Start there, and then I kind of would probably try to send an email or get on.
Yeah, yeah. Let us know. Yeah,
Thank you.
And we'll get this edited and even maybe be able to be like, here's the cheat sheet.
Oh.
For everything, so.
Thank you, Sam. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
because like for me, even like when we were running that study, or like I say, it's a study, it was more research and development. I was including like blows to the face and blows to the jaw as
Wow.
part of, so like, you know, that even expands on the parameters of what a head injury was. And then over a period of time, you see with the football injuries that it wasn't always a blow to the head. It was people like driving their shoulder into somebody's rib cage, or you know, knocking their feet off from under them, or you know, it didn't always have to be a blow to the head. And so yeah, like it can look a lot of different ways. And so the brain is not tough in that way like other parts of our body. So like sometimes you just got to give it a little TLC for a while. And so that's why even the lion's mane is helpful for the brain itself, but that won't really touch the glands. But like if there's been like chemical exposures or periods of time where there's been lack of oxygen or you know something of that nature, then like excessive amounts of inflammation in the body, lion's mane can help rehab the brain a bit. But still with a head injury, like I go full throttle on the glands, you know,
Okay.
like for chronic injuries, like full throttle. Chronic is anything that is older than 30 days. Like,
Sure.
you know, like chronic, sometimes we think of like, oh, it's a problem that won't go away. It's just something that's older than 30 days. So under 30 days is considered acute. Older than 30 days is chronic. And so sometimes you start treating something differently, you know, after that 30-day mark.
When the horse fell on me, the internist, and at that time they didn't have MRIs. It was just a CAT scan. I was up in Canada and they actually didn't have any equipment. So I had to wait till I got back into Seattle. So they put dye in my system, and the neurologist said I took it just short of permanent damage. And I remember my internist
Wow.
saying, don't even expect to be right for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
But I remember, and I didn't. I waited. I was so patient. And then at 6 months, I went in and I was like, I am still not right. And he says, yeah, it's kind of a bummer. Well, at that time, they didn't have all that much knowledge, too.
They
with
really
the
didn't.
brain.
Like even now it's better, but it's not. It's the brain is very complicated. Like it's just
Very.
there's so many factors. There's just, and really you just have to get in. And I mean, I think that's where you know, what we would call functional medicine or holistic medicine, with somebody who kind of knows what they're doing, can sometimes even produce like better results, because it's not really like Western medicine sees it as like there's a condition, like it's a definable condition, where sometimes it's not that it's a condition, it's just the function's off. And medications don't always make like a function better unless it's like very specifically become you know, a health issue, something that's like diagnosable. And so when you're in that gray area, Like, what do you do? And, you know, I always have them go through and do all the things with Western medicine because there's areas where they really shine. But then when you start to get in those weird, like functional areas, you just got to start nursing parts of your physiology back to health. And so the big one for things with head is endocrine function.
Yeah, that would certainly make sense. It was almost 2 years, I think, before I really, but my son said we had gone on a vacation, and you know how kids will say something out of the blue. And I remember he said to his father, "Look, Dad, we got Mom back."
Oh,
I know. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I hadn't realized I was even gone."
yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. So yeah, it was. Thank you. I really appreciate this, Greg.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Okay, keep us posted if we need to make adjustments or something, but that's a good straightforward approach.
And then for the spike lavender,
Mhm.
is that just inhalation?
Yeah,
Is that-
inhalation and I mean you could put it on the wrist, but I like inhalations with spike lavender and then salt baths, like for rehabbing the cerebral spinal fluid and regulating that. You could also use it in like massages and lotion, and then I mean the cerebral spinal fluid. You know, here we're talking about like physical things, but even you can keep refining the cerebral spinal fluid circulation to a very high degree, and for more mystical practices and things, you would do it with acacia. Yeah, acacia. But like that would be for a deeper regulation of the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight flight response. But you know, it's good to kind of do steps up to that before you jump into doing that. It's not that you'll cause harm, it's just much more effective to kind of do like you treat it, and then you treat it, you know, for the stress response, and then you kind of treat the accelerator nerve, and then you know you keep kind of treating it up until it gets calmer, and then you start treating it with the acacia and things for potential for deeper experiences. And but that's for another day,
Next.
or not. Like if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it, but usually I geek out and go way too off on a tangent. So
And then we'll start. Go ahead, Megan, and maybe have Greg go on.
hey Megan.
Hey Greg, how are you?
Hey, did you get my message about switching to Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday's
Okay,
great.
good.
That's even
Okay.
better.
Same time.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I just started pranic healing on someone with fibromyalgia, and
Okay.
actually I am looking at her health history again, and she sent me a 5-page Word document with so many things on it. So I'm like trying to keep it simple, but also wondering how much of this I have to take into account.
I wouldn't treat it symptom oriented for a while. Like I think there's things that you have to just go through and normalize for a little
Yeah.
bit. Lot of cleansing, a lot of lymphatic function, but you also want to balance out the sympathetic, parasympathetic.
Okay.
One of the ways that you can balance that out with energy healing very quickly is the treatment of the protective webs. You know,
Okay.
you go through and just really treat the protective webs quite substantially, and then a lot of health rays. Usually with fibromyalgia, there is a super depleted spleen, and so like clean all that stuff up. And you know how we do the like kind of some of the 4-direction work with the aura, where you go front and back and then from the side and from the other side.
I haven't done that class yet, but I usually sweep
We've
the
done it in a
sides.
bunch. Like, so like basically you would do healing, you know, like they're facing you, you clean them on the front, you clean them
Yeah.
on the back, just like normal. And then you would stand on each side of them and do the side like you would be doing the front.
Okay.
Like do it on, you really want to clean because the the sides of the aura, we don't really clean quite the same when we're
Yeah.
doing energy healing. And it impacts cognitive function quite substantially. And part of fibromyalgia is it's brain fatigue. Like, you
Yeah.
know, you're wanting, so it's a depleted spleen, and that part of the aura is usually like heavily congested. And so
Right.
it just allows for things to flow more. And then a lot of green, blue, violet, like just in all the areas, like anywhere you treat, green, blue, violet, green, blue, violet, green, blue, violet.
Okay, and then maybe I'll start, like you said, with protective webs, but also she said she's had a lot of, like, it sounds like very specific testing done, and she's been in clinical studies and all kinds of things, but she said she knows that the nerves in the gut are a significant issue, and they're overstimulated. And so I
Yep.
did pull out, because I loved it with the Tarragon, the soothing
Mhm.
sensory nerve hyperstimulation, and I just did the chakras with pranic healing. Do you think
Mhm.
that would be helpful? Because also
Yeah.
she's getting deep sleep and all that stuff you'd expect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like calming all that down. Yeah, tarragon would work, lemongrass would work. Anise would work.
Yeah. Okay.
The other thing I would like when you're treating somebody with chronic fatigue fibromyalgia, look heavily at their throat and throat minor.
Okay.
You just have to really unwind the throat and the throat minor.
What's the best way for lymphatic stimulation with pranic healing? I know you said the lungs and the arms and legs,
minor.
throat too.
Like, yeah, throat minor.
Okay.
Then do the arms and legs, and then the organs, organs of blood purification, but like a heavy on the throat and throat minor.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
super. Yeah.
When I'm cleaning protective webs, and it reminded me of the Phoenix technique class. Are there cords to the actual web too? Because it's
Usually not. Like
Okay.
if there's been a lot of cording activity, there's usually tears. But cleaning it and doing all that activity starts to clean that up.
sometimes they're really hard to clean. Do you have any
Clean the
tips?
kidneys first.
Clean the kidneys first.
Yeah. Kidneys
Can
and put on the basic. Yeah.
Can I even do like orange on the protective web still?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Just not up on the head, but yeah.
Okay. Sometimes are there thought entities connected, do you think, sometimes?
Oh, it's usually super impacted.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can poke a whole bunch on it.
Yeah, I do. I just need a bigger, sharper disintegrator, probably.
Oh yeah, we have that Perba for you too, by the way.
Yeah, I thought if you want to just bring it when you come to Seattle.
Okay, perfect.
Save the trouble
Yeah.
of shipping.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're very cool. They're copper, and then they've been silver plated. They're very, very sassy.
Cool. I need a little style. I haven't
Yeah.
even watched the video how to use it yet, so I need to
Yeah.
find that on the Astara site. But yeah, always ready for a new tool.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, on.
And go ahead, Kathy, then Helen.
Hey, Kathy.
Hey, I was gonna say good morning, but oh, it's not morning. Uh, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Okay, I'm great. I need to do a little praising of Anne Hemedal Owen. She's right somewhere in one of these. We did Sunday, we did the fear.
Oh, that's right. You did your thing this weekend.
Well, I just did a little bit on the mugwort, but she did the procedure that you did, the article you did for the Natural
Yes.
Journal.
Mhm.
OMG. It was awesome.
Oh, good.
Everybody really enjoyed it. We handed out cards. Hopefully, some of them will join us soon. But I just wanted to say, and
Oh, thanks for
you
doing
did
that.
a wonderful job.
Yeah.
Yes, it was
Well,
fun.
thanks, you guys.
And
Yeah.
it worked. It did some really interesting things. One of
Yeah,
our
we were
group-
just talking about potentially doing the fear class again here sometime soon. Just because it oh man, that's such a good class.
Oh,
It's
it
just
was
a
so
1 day,
powerful.
1
Yep.
day or two. It's not even a 2-dayer.
Well, it's also really good for breaking up blockages like with
Mhm.
grief.
Yeah.
And it's because kind of the fear of going forward when you've lost.
Yeah, oh yeah.
We want, oh, well,
Yeah.
this is wonderful,
Good,
wonderful.
good, good. I'm glad you guys had such a good experience.
I thought it
And
was
it's
great.
nice. I mean, that's one thing that is universal. Like nobody gets away from fear. Like it doesn't matter where you're at in your
Mhm.
life or what stage or what status or whatever. Like fear is fear. Like it's it's very in your body.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it was fun, and thank you for your support.
Yeah, my pleasure.
That's it.
Well, great. Thank you, Kathy.
And then go ahead, Helen.
Hey, Miss Helen.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, hey.
Um, so I have a couple of questions about some of the protocols.
Sure.
And actually, the one is from when you sent out the newsletter this past week in the clinical corner, it's about the establishing order. It's just a basic question. The first protocol is with the aloes, and it's from the class that we did this past weekend, the Law of Cycles. The second one, it doesn't have an oil, and I think it's
Oh,
a
boy, my
typo.
mistake. My apologies. Let me look at that.
Yeah, that's okay. I think it's a transmutation pattern, and
Oh no, that's still aloes. Yeah, that's
so
still
it
aloes.
says-
Yeah.
okay,
I think that one has like a 1 and a 2. It's like
yes,
the 1 is the first part, and then you're still using the same oil, and it's the second. It's the
okay. I just wanted to be clear because I would have guessed
Yeah.
that I would have jumped to Tiger Lily, but
Letty usually
Tiger Lily.
cleans that up for me, and that one didn't go through Letty, so
Oh.
usually she would put her little magic on it. So
No. Well, I was really happy to see this because I think this is a really amazing.
yeah, like I was even sitting and thinking of like, how do I even like go through and explain this? And I put the the points on there and everything, but it's like a deeper way of like stabilizing the Ming Men and like harnessing the potential power of the Ming Men. Like
Mhm.
it makes it work better, like if that makes sense. And when it's not working right, it's kind of like how when you're tired and you got to do something, you do it, but you don't do it well, because you're tired and you're fatigued. And it's like when you really work this establishing order component of it, it does so much for your brain. It does so much for refining the lower faculties but more importantly, like when you're in situations of chaos, it's like you almost get like insight coming in of like how to stabilize it. That's not of the rational mind. Like you almost get, I don't want to say it's not really instinctive. It's like it's probably more in intuitional kind of drive, but it's almost like this knowing of like I need to do this to make stability, and you're not as enticed to being in chaos. And on a deeper level, in the 3 brain stuff we talk about the process of catastrophe is things have to line up pretty well, but really what you're saying is chaos in the instinctive realm, chaos in the emotional realm, and then chaos in the mental realm that then affects behavior and things like that. And so it's just another way to stabilize all these components so that you can have a quieter mind, a more productive mind, more cognitive mind, better meditations, better healing, be it physical or psychological. It's very harmonizing and balancing,
Mhm.
The thing that they would say in Kabbalistic teachings is it develops the inner sense, like in
Mhm.
your inner like sense, your inner knowing.
Right. I went back and I looked at my notes about the class that we did on the Ming Men, the
Oh yeah.
transformation and the inner sense. And so some of that came through
Yeah.
on that class. So my other question is simply about the class that we did with the body mapping.
Hmm.
And I really loved the segment with the planetary influences.
Oh yes.
So I'm gonna sort of focus on that for a bit. But
I
you
think
had
that's an amazing thing to focus on.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's great. But you said something which caught my attention. It says, we go through stages of development, starting with purification, then transmutation, and then you start to have the union of opposites. And at some point you start to develop the higher emotional body,
Mhm.
like the astral body. Could you talk more about that? Could you?
Yeah, it's like so many of our emotions are like lower emotions, and even when they get kind of refined and move up to the heart, they are tied to more of like these emotional responses that don't have a lot of reflective components to it. They basically are more self-oriented rather than outside of yourself. And outside of yourself at first is more like about others, but even as it gets more refined, it starts to be even beyond like other people. And it starts to be, God or the Buddha nature or your higher nature or even greater. And so, at first we're just trying to move lower emotions up to higher emotions. But the idea of working the planetary energies is you're really going beyond yourself, you're going beyond your life, and you're cultivating this much higher level of emotional development that almost becomes like what the Buddhists would say, like no self, like you're going beyond the life or beyond the identification of the self. And that's where like what you would experience like happiness or joy or be embracing like the Christ consciousness or the Buddha nature, you would go start to more into that realm. And so you kind of go through these stages, and when you really start to experience that higher like astral component, it's almost like beyond what you would get in meditation, and it starts to be like when you're around a spiritual teacher or like a saint or something, you just feel this like peace, like you just, I wish I could just bottle this and just it's because they're like in a different realm, like they're in front of you, but they're really, their energy body has gone beyond where we're at, and they're in like a higher realm at the same time. And that higher realm, for even like a lesser saint, is still that like higher astral realm. And down below our feet, it goes beyond the, at first we're looking at the connection to the animal nature, and then we go to a deeper level where it's like, people who meditate and are cultivating peace and nonviolence and loving kindness. But beyond that is like the realm of like the souls and the great souls or saints and yogis. They kind of reside beyond that realm. That animal realm is a lot like what we would call hell, but it's just the animal nature. And one of the key ways to doing that is this idea of developing the emotional body. Because if you think about like the heart, the more the heart gets activated, the more the crown gets activated, the more that the blue pearl gets activated. And so, sitting and meditating on the crown and on the blue pearl is good, but it only activates based on how much building blocks that it has from the emotional body. And so the more that you just keep pumping up the heart, the crown and the blue pearl just, they activate and they stay activated even when you're not meditating. And so in certain circles, they would refer to this as not being spiritual, but being spirited. Like the emotional body is it's like this active component that is activating to the upper centers, to the upper faculties. And even if you think about like the idea of materialization, part of how you materialize something and bring something down from the ethers or just take action and make something happen, it really depends on the quality of the emotional body. And if the emotional body is really negative or depleted, your ability to get things, physicalized is diminished. But if the emotional body is really super developed, the ability to attract energies from the environment to bring it into form is, I don't want to say effortless, but it becomes almost like you send out the word and just there's a responding energy that comes. And so this is the teaching of, with Astara, we talk about Katumi, but Katumi is Saint Francis of Assisi. And Saint Francis, you see that he's always surrounded by animals. And it just means that it's when the heart gets big, the crown gets big. So the mixing of the heart and crown produces an ability that is tied to the communication with nature spirits, or the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, whatever it might be, but even the mineral kingdom. But it's shown there with him being surrounded by animals. And it's almost like when you work the planets with the organs of blood purification, and a little bit later you can like start doing with the alchemical planet, like with it going back and forth. So like you're working sun, you work the alchemical sun and the sun, you go back and forth. The alchemical sun is more of things in the unconscious. And so it's like it provides like greater building blocks. But for a while, just work the planets by themselves, but also include Earth. Like, like we did the 7 there, but like at some point you'll kind of reach a place where you're like going, I'm feeling pretty good. When I do it, I don't really feel anything bigger. It's like you kind of want to keep doing this bit of, it's not really a release, but it's release. It's a transmutation of sorts of the energies from the earth, because like we're naturally drawn more to the earth than to the other planets. And so our emotional body, our higher emotional body, I should say, is a reflection of the influences that we would call astrology. And our lower emotions are that of earth. And the more you kind of keep activating those astrological components, at some point you have to keep going down to earth, going, okay, I need to work this deeper. I need to work it deeper. I need to work it deeper. And basically what you're saying is like, I need more light to build something even better. Like it's a way to access some kind of light of sorts. And so, at some point, we're going to do this in November, that your birth sign becomes a little bit more, you're not just working the planet associated with your birth sign, you're working some of the processes in your birth sign, because that is tied to also how you can transmute some of your karmas that we would, basically how you kind of process your karmas. Your karmic imagery is tied to your birth sign. And, if you come in as a Capricorn, or you come in as like, a Gemini or a Libra or something like that, you're going to process the same information, but in a different way. And so it's not just about working it in the lungs like we were doing before, but there's these alchemical processes that you do in the spine, and there's all these components. And so it becomes kind of almost like a practice into itself. Like, I work all the planets myself, but being Capricorn, I'm in Saturn. And I work them all, but when I work Saturn, way deeper, way deeper. But it's important to work them all.
Yeah.
But the one needs a lot of work. Whenever I do this, I was like, I got to do this every day. Like, because it does change, you're basically, anytime you're working the higher components of the emotional body, you're activating the heart, and you're really developing what they call the imagination of the heart, or eventually it turns into the phosphorus of the heart, like the blinding light of the heart. And when the light gets so bright in the heart, it actually begins to illuminate the mind. Like, it's not just activating something, but it starts to lighten up the mind, and like kind of develop the mental body to a much higher degree. So it just starts this like chain reaction going up there. But the key is that upper emotional body. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
I
Well,
think that's a great practice to focus on. I think that's
Yeah.
a super great practice to focus on.
yeah, it really drew me. So when you say work the earth, are you saying working with the blend earth?
Yeah.
Okay. So same, and the organs of
Yeah.
blood
Just-
purification.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
same pattern, same everything. I mean, I'd worked the other planets for a little while, but like when you feel
Yeah.
like, I feel like I'm kind of evening out, go back, work Earth, and then go back to the planets.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
like
And
go
then
back and forth.
this class yeah, thank you. The class that's coming up in November, with our birth sign, are we dealing with the Western tropical system, or are we dealing with the Vedic system?
So you
matter.
can actually do either one. Like ideally, like I was in my mind, I was thinking we'll just do the Western, but we did some trial runs with people that do like more Eastern astrology, and it
Mhm.
worked just the same.
Okay.
You're working different aspects, but um how did they say it? Like the difference between the East and the West, one's good for doing this and one's good.
Oh my gosh, at the time, sniffing oils, I can't remember. Yeah, so this was from a particular astrologer who really liked doing both charts, and she said Western is better for like personality things and descripting of that sort of thing, so more of like your actions. And then Jyotish was better for predicting and for the cycles and things like that.
So I mean, you're getting a little different flavor either way, but you're still getting flavor.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors, all made from milk. You know what I mean? Like, so like either direction you want to do, like I think it's good, but it's gonna be each sign is gonna have like a whole series of things that are just unique to that sign.
Got it. Well,
Yeah.
okay. Well, looking forward to that. And are we going to do planetary classes at all in the future soon?
Yeah, I think we're looking at maybe doing something in January or February, because I was thinking about how to handle the planetary things, because I don't know, it's such a complicated thing. And then the issue being that like sometimes when you present something, you're going through everybody's filters of like how they think about it, rather than what the old traditions used to talk about. And so like, how do I translate it to the here and now? Because I actually had it all written up. I was going to do an emotional like healing class, but it was all just planetary energies. And I was like, I just think it's going to be a little too, it's like confusing. So I decided to do it over little bits over a period of time. And so doing the thing in the body mapping class was starting to take us down that road, and then like the class in November is really taking us down that road. And we've been circling a drain on it for a little bit, but there's all kinds of combinations that you can do with the planets and alchemical processes and things associated with the zodiac signs and the angels. Like it gets very interesting. Yeah, very interesting. I find it fascinating, but it's always about like how well can I communicate what the idea is out to everybody. And so sometimes I just keep trying to refine how I say things. And the three brain component is making things much easier, like making it much easier. But even that, like here on the oil side, we're doing really well with it. But like on the side with Astara, like the ones that are getting it on that side are people that have been doing it with the oils. Like I taught it in India, and I taught 9 modules, and at module 5 they started having difficulty because it was so different than how they thought about what I was teaching. Like they just had completely different viewpoints, and those viewpoints aren't necessarily wrong. It's just they're more external. And so when you go and start teaching the more mystical side of things, it's much more of an internal thing, and it's about developing something rather than a technique. They had a little bit of a hard time with it, and so we had to slow it way down. I taught it all, but we are circling back and going, okay, let's just stick with module 5 for a while. We'll do 6 in a little bit, where the things we're doing here, we are way past that. But they didn't have all the experiences with the oils, and I didn't prep them like we've prepped here. And so it's a little bit harder actually without the prep work. And so we're just trying to handle it in different ways. But just it's not like you're doing the same thing but without oils. You have to do different approaches because you're not using oils. So the practices are a little bit different, and you're using different techniques and things. And so
I'm sure we'll get there. So I'll just stay tuned.
yeah,
Thanks so much.
yeah, let me know how it goes with working those
Okay,
planets. Yeah.
cool. Thank you.
And then you had mentioned a Purba over with Megan. Are you referring to the 3-inch Purbas Astara's recently offered? Are they up on the side?
3-inch. I think they're bigger.
Yeah.
I think they're more like 6 inches. There's some little small ones, but the one I'm talking about are
I'll look and see what we have on the site.
yeah, I don't know if they've made it on the site yet.
Okay.
Like I don't think she's posted them all yet.
Okay.
But yeah, we can shoot you a picture if you're interested. Yeah. They're very sassy. Like the copper and silver together, man, you can really feel energy flowing through.
And then go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Miss Chris.
Thanks, Sam. Hey, Greg.
Hey.
Hey, good news. We got that count.
Yay.
Yay. Yeah, I just wanted to share that. And, I'm supporting a couple of friends. They're both having very difficult times in terms of 2 very different reasons. One is, the mom has dementia, and so they had to place her in a home, kind of had to do it, not outwardly, because a very strong personality. So she's having a really difficult time with that. And, you know, the mom is acting up
The
too.
mom
So
is, or
the mom
person?
is, the mom
Okay.
is acting up. So she's getting daily or even, you know, multiple calls a day from the home. Any ideas
Like,
on?
give me an idea of what she's doing. She's being combative, she's being aggressive,
Yes,
she's being.
yes, and messing. She's being messy. She's throwing things at people. There was a point when they had to have someone with her 24/7, you know. So they had to increase her antipsychotic
Hmm.
medication. And it's really affecting my friend. It's almost like
Yeah,
she's
yeah, yeah.
not grounded, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, definitely
Uh,
cut cords between her and her mom, and then clean cords, or have her use a Ther cords between her and her mom, because she's going to
Okay.
be feeling in the good cord, she's going to feel a lot of contamination and anger and stress and whatever.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah.
That's a piece of it, but we
Okay.
we still want to be able to calm down the mom. And so,
Mm,
able to use oils with her or not, or
no.
okay.
I mean, with my friend,
Blue,
yes, definitely.
well, the mom is like, if you calm your mom down, your friend's gonna do better.
Uh-huh.
Blue, like medium blue
Medium
on
blue.
the main men, like nobody's
Hmm.
business. Like
Okay.
five,
And I've tried blessing the
yeah,
earth
you gotta calm
underneath
down that
her.
Ming-Men. You gotta
Okay.
calm down that Ming-Men. Yeah,
Medium blooming. Got it.
yeah. Like you might even need to do greenish blue for a little bit. Like
Okay.
medium, like solid medium, just. And I mean, I'm talking about energize it for like probably 5-6 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do
And then,
that a couple of days in a row, and then even just bluer, like, in the old days when we would do healing, we didn't do like clean the solar plexus, energize it, stabilize, and put blue on the solar plexus. We would do
mhm.
the healing, and then at the end you just like blew the whole person. That's how you stabilized.
Like a
Right.
Smurf.
And yeah, and like then later it changed. Do that to the mom. Just
Okay.
blue, like medium blue.
Also medium blue or light white?
Yeah, medium blue. She
Medium.
just needs to calm her body down. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then the dad is, I mean, it's a relief for him not to be verbally abused and be faced with that because they're now separate, but he's deteriorating because of being separated from her. It's very interesting.
That's her husband or
Uh-huh.
the son? The husband.
The mom's her dad, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I go back to like if the mom comes down, like I think there's probably a little bit of guilt and
Ah.
you know what I mean? Like if
Mhm.
she was there and everything was amazing and she was playing shuffleboard, he would not feel that way. You
Okay.
know what I mean? That she's upset and pitching a fit. He's just feeling really bad and
Yeah. And I think,
probably
with my friend, there's a lot of guilt too. I
yeah.
mean, it had to be done, she's
Yeah, it has to be done, but
yeah, it's hard.
sometimes they enjoy it and then sometimes they, fight tooth and nail. And so,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
when your friend goes to visit the mom, tell her to wear jasmine, a lot of jasmine.
She wouldn't even,
Oh,
she's
okay.
too fragile. My friend is
Okay.
to be able to do that.
Okay.
Again, I think
Yeah, I get it.
majorly the overriding emotion is guilt right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she does have jasmine, so I'll just tell her
Tell
to
her to
inhale
inhale
that.
it before she goes in or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
And then
jasmine's a little bit more for the mom, but
okay.
it just helps them to
But
get
my friend is
redirect.
the one going to inhale it, right? For the mom.
Well, like one of the ways, like if the mom won't wear it or use it, one of the ways you get the mom to use it is you wear it and then you just stand next to them, you know, and just let it permeate the energy body and the psyche, and you know, let her inhale it a whole bunch. And you know, if she says, "What's that smell?" It's just, "Oh, my new perfume," you know. And the jasmine helps the mom to be less combative, makes it easier for her to be redirected.
Got it. Okay. And then the other one is, the work situation. She's being targeted by the boss. And someone else in her organization.
What kind of work does she do?
Um,
If you don't want to say, it's okay.
yeah, I'm not too sure.
Is it corporate or not?
Yeah, it's corporate.
And she's kind of in a weakened state.
Yes. And
Cinnamon, have her use cinnamon. Have her use cinnamon.
Cinnamon.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is what I would say about that. Like in a corporate setting, like if somebody smells like a weak person in the herd,
yeah,
they go after it. So she needs to not be the weak person in the herd really quickly.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's not about protection. She needs to like be able to strengthen her body and be a little bit more outgoing, and it won't make it all go away, but it will
She I
keep
think
people of
she has
like
a strong personality.
yeah, but if she's going through difficult times, sometimes people sense that and they kind of, you know, like I had
Sense
these
the
like
fear.
not that this is the same, but it kind of is, but it
Mhm.
kind of isn't. But I had these two little dogs back quite a while ago. You know, my ex had them, and you know, they would always hang out, and you know, they would wrestle with each other and play with each other, and you know, they were buddies. But
Mhm.
if the younger one got sick, the older one would just start going for the jugular vein, and I'm like, ugh. But it's like they smell weakness, and so they go for the
Mhm.
throat. And
Mhm.
people of a lower nature,
Mhm.
that's what they do.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, they're
normal
bullies.
people are good people, they don't really do that. But when people are a little bit more cutthroat or just driven by the lower nature, it's not even like it's a conscious choice. They just are going for the jugular. And so that's like they can smell the kill, you know, and they just
Yeah.
start going for it. And you know, it's a thing that happens sometimes, and especially in corporate, because you know there's certain parameters, but within that, somebody starts having a difficult time. Same in the academic world, man.
Mm.
Some of the worst things, that like brutal things where peers have turned on somebody, has been in the academic world, like amongst some professors and stuff. I mean, they were just brutal, the things that I saw. And you just, yeah,
Okay.
it's not even like how they're acting or behaving, it's just they sense the weakness, so like strengthen the body up. You know, normally I'd say like, oh, hiss up and rue, and this is another problem. You gotta fortify the body so that they don't get that sense as much. So have her take like 2 or 3 drops internally, like daily for a while,
Okay.
like every morning,
Like
right
in the
before she goes to bed.
mornings.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, and I've been bluing the bullies.
Yeah, blew them. But like also maybe your friend, even if it's just white, arms and leg, like the palms and the soles of the feet, like strengthen her body up a little bit more.
Okay. So
Yeah.
she has, I think she got sage too, which one?
Yeah, that can be helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Greg.
But like I'd say cinnamon is the anti-bully oil. You know
love
what I
it.
mean? Like cinnamon, Like if you're really embodying cinnamon, cinnamon doesn't take a lot of crap from people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it's too strong, it's too vibrant, its skin is too thick, it's too like I don't know about that, and just like, you know, I don't want to say it doesn't hold back. It's not that it becomes abrasive, it's just cinnamon. If you're embodying cinnamon, cinnamon has, like when you really embody that oil, like in personality, you have your feet under you really solid. Like it's hard to push over because your feet are so planted in the ground. You know, if that makes sense.
So going back to my friend whose mom is, acting up. The mom was a bully too. So would cinnamon help her too?
Would help her with her mom. Yeah. Like don't give
Yeah.
it to the mom.
No, I know.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, God.
No, I'm making a joke. Like mom doesn't need more of that.
That's funny.
But yeah, that would help. But like with that, it's like you nailed it when you said, like, you know, feeling guilt and stuff like that. It's hard for people have that kind of interaction with their parent and or even a partner. It's like they, you know, they'll feel bad. It's pretty normal. But at the same time, it might feel or seem like it's a harsh decision, but like you said, it's probably a decision that had to happen. Like it was,
Yeah.
you know, we just had a situation where, you know, we had help facilitate a dramatic change from somebody in my past, you know, not in a negative way or anything, but just change has got to happen. And, you know, it's a little bit uncomfortable, and we handled it in a very, very polite way. But, you know, watching this person later, spiritual cord got bigger, their energy body got stronger. They're, you know, yes, they're having to address the changes, but it's almost like it invigorates them a little bit. And it kind of pulls them out of their head a little bit. You know what I mean? And it was actually better for that person. Like, you know, not quite the same degree of what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
still it is, even though it might be something that's uncomfortable, it's still in the best interest of that person.
Right.
You know, the mom might not think so, but
Right.
you know, it is what it is. I'm sure they thought about it and processed it and were concerned about it for a long
Oh
enough
yeah, for a
to where,
long time.
it
Yes.
probably went a little too long even. Like that's
I
I'm
agree.
not saying anything about your friend, but that's the tendency in those situations, is it usually goes on longer than it should have.
Yeah. To the point where she was a hazard to society.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Greg.
Yeah, you're
Appreciate
so
it.
welcome. Hey, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your help too.
Yay.
And then go ahead, Barbara, then Lucinda.
Hey, Miss Barbara.
Okay, quick question. After hearing you mention copper and silver twice, I remembered that I had been wearing a silver and copper ring on that hand, in the middle finger. And I don't know, 3 or 4 days in, I suddenly felt some uncomfortable energy there. And I didn't know if the ring had anything to do with it, but I took it off because I wasn't sure.
I would probably just clean the ring up a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably just that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, because I mean, copper and silver are really good for you. Like copper, they use to even treat like things like arthritis and things. But you know, the combination does, you know, both those metals are very conductive, and so it's running a lot of energy. When something runs a lot of energy, it also has the greater potential to be get contaminated, and so it probably just needs to be cleaned up. Did it have a stone on it by chance?
It did not.
Yeah. So that's a little bit easier to clean up. Sometimes the stone will get impacted. So if it's just the metal, like clean it, but clean off, because like sometimes it's the environment, it's stress energy from other people. So just, either pray over it or rotate between and Om, or sweep it, or do a little invocative thing, or something of that nature.
Got it. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I'm sorry, give me one sec, Lucinda. I missed this one on the jasmine. Could it be in a diffuser? Could that
Sure.
be helpful?
Oh yeah. Diffuser, like there's all kinds of diabolical ways we've tried to get that to somebody like in that situation. And it works more for women than for men. But the diffuser, you wear it in a lotion, like you give them, I had this lotion made for you, or I brought you this lotion, and have them put it on all the time. That's another way to do it. Yeah. Or if you're just around the person a lot, you wear it, and that's how I like when I go around my family for holidays and stuff. That's what I do is I just put a bunch of whatever I want to, use to calm everybody down, including Uncle Bob. And I just wear it, and I just keep applying it, and it works.
Thanks. And then go ahead, Lucinda, then Sonia.
Hey, Miss Lucinda.
Hi. I've got this neighbor who has Parkinson's, and his sister really wants me to work on him, but I keep getting that I can't help him. Not so much that I couldn't do something, but that it's more of his headstrong attitude and the way he sees me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty much, he's that very, very accomplished athlete, and that's where his Parkinson's comes from, the head trauma. So it's not.
What kind of athlete was he?
Many different kinds.
Okay.
Mostly track and football. Like he still holds records at Nebraska, and
oh wow.
But I keep scanning it, and I'm not sure where the tweak needs to come. And it might be that I heard you say one time that you really can't treat Parkinson's.
You can treat it, but you just got to be open to it might get better, it might not. It's one of those things where, but how are you going to treat them? You're going to use oils? You're going to what are you doing? You're doing heating?
Well, a combination, and most of pranic healing and mostly pranic healing, but some oils too. I don't know if I can really get him to subscribe to oils, but I can always treat him somewhat remotely. I mean, I have permission from his sisters, and she pretty much speaks for him.
Mm-hmm.
Although he's, I won't say that, but he's not totally debilitated. He's got his mind and everything, and does get around. But I thought if I could actually ease his symptoms or treat, even can I go back in time and maybe treat parts of the brain a little bit?
Yeah, people talk about that. I've never really seen it do.
Never seen it work.
No, it's an interesting theory, but
yeah, it is.
This is what I would do, and I would drop the idea of treating Parkinson's, and I would treat behavior first. And if the behavior can't shift or change for you to be able to do something, you being able to treat Parkinson's becomes irrelevant, because there's going to be so much resistance.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is so I'm going to give you a little pattern. Ajna, throat, temples, back head, Mingmen, kidney belt meridian, and navel minor. And heavy emphasis, navel minor. After the navel minor, the basic. Yeah. And so the emphasis is going to be on the basic, the ajna, the throat, and the temples. Heavy on the temples.
Okay.
But basically what you're treating here is behavior. You're treating like behaviors, behavioral patterns, and you know, a lot of these behaviors are because of past experiences, past conditioning, past, you know, traumas, aches, pains, whatever it is. And it's not really aligned with what's presently happening. It's almost like it's a behavior of the past, not of the present. And so by going through and doing this, you're helping to align the behavior that's happening to like now, rather than, you know, because if he was like an athlete and he was the top of his game and all that, you know, there was the things that he did to be successful, which is being tenacious and probably even a little bit stubborn, and like, you know, to be able to produce the result. Not very good
Yes.
helping him to heal right now. Like that was good in sports, not good here. Like, you know what I mean? And then
Absolutely.
being the top of the game and getting awards, he's used to people kind of accommodating him a little bit. And again, doesn't really work here. Like, you know, that he gets his way here is not necessarily beneficial. And so he needs to be able to adjust to the now. You'll never get him to do it through talking or whatever. And it takes a really savvy therapist to really get them to be able to get into that place. And usually even a savvy therapist is limited based on the situation and the influence you would have over the person. Like, so, you know, if they're in like a place where it's mandated care, much easier to get him in line versus something where he's choosing to come, and as soon as he doesn't like something, he's going to bail. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
That and more is what I've
Yeah.
picked up from him. It's there's, you know, that you have to have an ego to be able to be successful in sports.
Yeah.
Like he has, and
it
he's
worked
used to
well for him in other areas, but right now it's not working well for him.
it. No. And so that's where I was kind of going with this
So, like,
originally, was just to like
Yeah,
calm
so
him down.
The Parkinson's, like trying to target the Parkinson's, you're going to wrestle with that the whole time. So it's almost like you need to be able to wrangle this in. And honestly, once you start to wrangle this in, his symptoms might even start to dissipate a little bit.
Well, that's what I was thinking. If there's a little bit of combativeness with the whole thing, if you can calm him down to ease into it, that will just help, you know, him function better. And yeah.
So do this with oils. You can use poplar balsam or aloes, but the premium choice is assemblage point.
Oh, okay.
And then with energy healing, on those same areas, violet and then electric violet everywhere except the basic. On the basic, you just use green and orange. But you're targeting behavior. Like when you're doing it with energy, the oils already do like target it. You know what I mean? But like when you're doing it with energy, if you just do healing on those, it won't quite work. You have to really go, okay. Like I'd even take a minute and just go, okay, I'm focusing on behavior, like the behavior, and then go at it as the behavior. And
I'm sure he's angry too.
Angry at the condition, and sometimes like somebody like that has had a very successful life as an athlete, they can also be angry at getting older, like having those faculties.
I understand that.
Yeah. And so I mean it's part of life, and different stages bring us to different places, and not judging it at all, like
No.
I get it. Like looking back on myself, like there was definitely stages where I, did different things and I had different abilities. And then as I got older, new abilities came, and some of those older abilities just floated down the gutter. Just if I was 20 years younger, But
Yes.
it is what it is. And so the oils work really well for this. They work
Okay.
really, really super well for this.
So the treatment to treat the behavior like that, it is just sort of a thing that brings your behavior to sort of a benchmark ground zero state, or is it actually working on negative behaviors or
it's not even working on negative behaviors. It's almost like regenerating the behavior to be current, because those behaviors when he was younger were positive. It's just now they're not working for him. So need to be able to shift out of that behavior and step into some new behaviors. It's just like if you even, say you're 40 and you're doing things, your behavior at work is going to be different than your behavior at home when you come home to the kids. You have to be able to shift the behavior from, selling cars or whatever to coming home and being different with the kids and the wife and whatever. And so it's the same idea. It's just stages of life. You got to be able to let go of one stage of life to move into the next stage of life.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's not even about negative behaviors or anything. It's like it's giving the person the ability to regenerate the behavior to be more current. Like that's all it is. It's almost like a reboot of the behavior that's being brought forth.
Well, that'll be good.
Yeah.
He's pretty direct.
Yeah.
Already, the little complication is that he's already sort of propositioned me. And I'm like, well, do I even want to get involved with helping him? And directly, like it wasn't even like, yeah, I don't think so. That's
keep in mind that might be his way of trying to manage the situation.
I get it. I get it.
I mean, it could be attraction, but
I doubt it.
When something like that happens, they're just trying to maintain some sort of control. Yeah.
Right.
The suggestion that I would say, the first couple of times, do it at night while he's asleep.
Good idea.
Yeah, like while he's sleeping though.
Yes.
Figure out what time he goes to bed, do about an hour after he goes to bed.
All right. Well, thank you. I won't take any more time.
Yeah. Good talking with
you. You too.
And then go ahead, Sonia, then Deborah.
Hey, Miss Sonia.
Will cinnamon work if a system is depleted, or will
What's that? What is it?
Will cinnamon work if a system is depleted or will it deplete it more?
No, it actually is strengthening to the system. But if I remember right, weren't you trying to stay away from things that had heat?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could probably still use it, just be a little bit more careful with it. Yeah. But it's not a stimulant like how caffeine would give you more energy, but then deplete you more. It's literally kind of strengthening the body from the inside out. You know, I was reading this article from this doctor and medical aromatherapist, which is usually a doctor in France. And he said, if the world knew all the healing properties and the potentials that are found in cinnamon, you wouldn't be able to find cinnamon anywhere, because everybody would buy it up and hoard it, because it's that healing. It does so many things. And one of them is it's just so strengthening to the body. It's a general stimulant, almost every system in the body. I mean, it's just the only, I would say, the big downside would be the heat. Like if your body already runs really hot, it's like maybe not the best choice, but you could still do it in small doses.
Is Cade the one that's a cinnamon too?
No, cade's a juniper. The one is cassia, and then a softer form of cinnamon is tamala. Tamala is this milder form that comes out of Nepal. Yeah, it's very, very, very almost a perfume quality of cinnamon. Yeah, very, very nice.
Do you have a mala?
Tamala? Oh yeah, yeah, it's on the thing.
You
Yeah,
said tamala or amala?
Yeah. Tamala, Tamala.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a nice one. It's much softer, much softer, but still works. Yeah.
And then go ahead, Deborah.
Hey, Miss Deborah.
Hi, Greg.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the Parkinson's that Lucinda talked about is fascinating to me.
Mhm.
I've experienced, my neighbor across the street she now can't drive because hers has gotten so bad.
Yeah.
And the characteristics that you're talking about are exactly what I experienced with her.
Yeah.
And it is very, very hard to help them.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. I just want to say it because I deal with sometimes guilt at turning my back.
Yeah, like I mean, I hear you. Like it's especially when it's like a loved one or a friend, or like here it's a neighbor, and so much easier to deal with it when you're just a clinician and you're looking at it and you go, well, that's just what they're doing. But when it's kind of entwined in your life a little bit, it's harder, and it's
It becomes
beyond
abusive.
it's beyond how we normally think and feel about something. And there comes a point where when I've been helping somebody deal with somebody like that in their family, and they're kind of gone, like I almost have to have a little talk with them, like your parent or your friend isn't there anymore like they used to be. It's a different person. Like it doesn't mean you treat them with less love or anything, but you're going back to your memories of that person and how you interacted and how you had a back and forth, and it's like that's gone. It's not there anymore. And it doesn't mean that you treat them like they're just no longer a thing, not that any of them ever does, but it's like you're never going to get the responses like you did in the old days. Like they're just So you have to treat them accordingly. And, like my grandpa didn't have Parkinson's, but he had really bad dementia. And, it was kind of sweet. Like he was actually a little bit nicer to me with dementia, but, because he was just a grouchy old guy until he got dementia. And then he just became very nice and very happy, actually. But the way that he talked to me was the way that he would talk to a stranger. Like he knew he was supposed to know me, but he didn't remember me. But he talked to me like a stranger. And as much as you try to cut through that, the capacity is just not there. And I know dementia is different than what we're talking about, but you just have to do the math sometimes with where somebody's at with something like that. And it is what it is. And the thing with the Parkinson's and it can even happen in dementia cases and things like that is the behavior can change quite substantially. And people who were very loving to you for a good part of your life can turn and eat you like a tiger, like when they get in this stage, because they just, they're out of control and they're trying to manage something, and they don't see things the way they used to. And so it just is what it is. I think the thing that I always tell people when I was doing healings all the time, and we'd be dealing with this, is you can't take it personal, and you're not gonna really fix it a whole lot. Like they're not judging you and acting towards you based on what they evaluate or how they valued you in the past. They're just a different person now. And so, where you see this a lot too is when people get brain cancer, like their behavior changes dramatically. And, sometimes it's just different, but I've seen several cases where they just become really like aggressive and act kind of like a little bit of a crazy person. And not every time, but it can happen. It depends on what part of the brain it hits. And it's just neurological. Like it's not like they're choosing it or anything. That's just their brain is not working like it should. And so you just have to treat them accordingly, Yeah.
So, that's really helpful. On the physical side, I have my own question about the ramifications or the leftovers of COVID. So I have a huge amount of congestion that's working its way out of my chest.
Okay.
And then it's possible I could still be having a little bit of a drip that's contributing to it ongoing.
Okay.
But if I get a little bit horizontal, I'm just hacking. Is there any oil that can help with facilitating it?
Yeah, a couple things. Like, have you tried using Anula at all?
No, but I do have some.
Okay, so Anula is one of the strongest mucolytics in aromatherapy. Like it is, like it helps to break it down and like get it out. Now, sometimes it might not need. I mean, you can try that and see if it brings relief. Especially like in the lung part, it might help. In the treatment of like you just seem to be like constantly kind of having the moisture and everything. Terebinth will dry things up substantially. And so if it feels like you're just like overproducing mucus, you can't stop it. Like if you're just getting it out, use the Anula. But if it just feels like it's like a faucet's turned on and you can't get it to stop, Terebinth will usually dry that up. It's one of the best things for that in aromatherapy. I would also use, if it's a lot of where, like, even when you're standing up, like the nose is running, Angelica internally can be helpful. But what I would do is I'd probably go in between Anula and Terebinth and see which one works for you better. You know, just a lot of inhalations, you know. You can even rub a little bit on your chest after you're done. I would try that. And then from the health food store, get some golden seal root. Make sure it's the root, not the leaf. You know, every once in a while somebody tries to slide past the leaf because it's cheaper, but it's nowhere near as effective. And take like 2 or 3 capsules like twice a day. And between all of that, that should really knock it out.
Okay, so if it doesn't specify, because I was taking Golden Seal, but I didn't realize to look for one over the other. If it doesn't specify, I can assume it's the leaf. If that is that
No,
correct?
it's still probably the root. Yeah, I mean, most times it's the root, and so it's not mixed with anything. It's just by itself.
It's in a capsule.
But it's not with like echinacea or something like that.
No, I made sure to stay away and just
Okay.
get the Golden Seal.
So two or three capsules twice a day, and then do you have Terebinth?
I'm sure I do. That
Yeah,
sounds so
I'm sure you
familiar.
do too. Like it's been in classes and stuff. And remember,
Yeah.
like you can look up what class it was in. You know, Samantha
I-
can go through that. Yeah.
I've recategorized mine by alphabet.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. I would
Yeah.
probably do the 2 of those together and see how that treats you, you know. And if the Terebinth doesn't work, then maybe try the Anula. Yeah.
So is this true also if I am like I don't have headaches and but like I'm not really smelling. It's like breathing is not easy, so I'm pretty sure that I have congestion, like an allergy kind of congestion, and it actually could be partly allergy because a lot of people are
Sure.
complaining about them.
Sure.
So would Terebinth still be
Still be,
effective?
yeah.
Okay.
Still, you like that combination, be it allergies, just a cold, you know, COVID, whatever it is, it would still be the treatment plan. Because the thing is like it might not dry you up and clean things up like if you took an over-the-counter med or something, but your respiratory tract will be much healthier afterwards, and you'll be more
Yes.
vibrant afterwards. You know, because you haven't manipulated things so much. I mean, there's a time and place to do that sometimes, but you know, treating it like this is pretty solid. And you know, if it just doesn't resolve itself after a few days, then you know, we can step it up a notch, but that usually is what will do it. And then if there's any other symptoms after that, you know, we can just go through it and treat. So, you know, feel free to email us if it's before next Tuesday.
Well, I'm willing to be patient with this. I remember when I got it last year, it was like this, and the part in my lungs took a while, but I had been heavily, well, I thank you so much for your guidance because I was able to stay away from all the meds and just strictly use the oils, and I feel strong immediately afterwards, whereas before I was dragging. So yeah. Wish I could convince more people. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you. I
And
do. Thank
you
you.
did like a test, you know, it's COVID for sure.
I did not do the test I have them, but the tests have been, unless you get it the right day and all of that, but it was so much
All
exactly
the symptoms.
exactly what I experienced before, and the fever and the chill, everything. So
and the thing too with the test is there's been so much mutation that I don't know that the old tests are even accurate anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's a lot being written about that, so it's not just anecdotal. So thank you again.
You're so welcome. And if you need more, you let us know.
Thank you.
And then go ahead, Letty.
Hey, Miss Letty.
Hi, Rick. Hi, Sam. I thought of a question that I had when you talked about cinnamon. Because we have a nurse at work. She's a nurse that comes in with a student, right? So they're called private duty nurses.
Mhm.
She's been recently going through some things. But one of the main things that I wanted to ask was her brother-in-law. Not too sure, like they're ruling it more like an accidental, or not accidental, they're ruling it more like a suicide, but he shot himself and everybody
Wow.
was home. Everybody was home, but nobody saw it. And I just thought about like the area that it happened, like it needs a cleansing. So would that still apply the same, like using either like Moses or hyssop? Like what would you recommend to cleanse that area that it happened? Because they were fixing to move out of that house and they decided to sign the lease for like another year.
Camphor, like just a crap load of camphor. Like diffuse it, put it in a spray bottle, spray all those areas down. You know, not just wherever the room was where the act happened. Put drops of the camphor in the carpet, or you know, a crap load of camphor. The thing is like sometimes with certain kinds of violent acts is that attracts, it's not just that it's contaminating, it attracts a kind of energy and that needs to be dissipated. You know, it's not just the memory, it's almost like, you know, how old days in the cowboy movies, the cook would ring the bell and then all the cowboys would come in and sit down and eat their chili or whatever. It's almost like that for certain kinds of energies from the environment. So you just want to clean that up.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I knew it had to be cleaned up and I just, I was telling her about it. I just didn't know like what exactly we were going to recommend to use, but I did mention to her about the energy staying there.
Yeah, Palo Santo could be a second, but I would do camphor. And you could also use the mantra, like you can say it and bless, and do the. You have did you get a relic mala when you were here? I can't remember if you did or didn't.
No.
I thought that was you. Hmm. Do
No, I do have a couple of malas, but I know I didn't get a mala when I went in the summer. You.
you didn't get that black coral thing? Is that you
No.
or somebody else? No.
No.
Okay. Give me just a second here. Do the mantra for Tara.
Shri Tare Tutare.
Om Tare Tutare Tur Svaha. Like sit and just bless that area and then Om Tare Tutare Tur Swaha.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Should I ask like her to send me like a picture of that area or just because I
Just start
obviously I don't.
blasting. Yeah, just start blasting the area.
Okay.
I wouldn't spend too much time looking at a picture or anything. Like don't have a connection to it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like visualize her and then like the house.
Just visualize the space. Like the space where it happened.
Okay.
You do the house, but do the room first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greg.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, she's going through a lot too. She's going through like a separation and then that happened. And
Yeah.
I had mentioned about giving her some cinnamon, but I wasn't sure she'd be willing to take it. But even if she inhale it, at least that would be better than anything.
Yeah, I mean that's strengthening and everything, but I would be more concerned about cleaning up that space.
Okay.
Yeah. It will affect how she thinks and feels and behaves if it doesn't get cleaned up. I'll clean it up too.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
like, do those things. And
Mhm.
if she'll do the camphor, if she doesn't, like just do the mantra.
Okay. Thank you, Greg.
You're so
As far as use for the camphor, would incense or spray, or is there a specified use?
any of it. Like just spray, incense, drops on the floor, diffuser, any of it. However you can get it in the area. Yeah.
And just one last question in
Yeah,
chat.
yeah.
We'll see if we have
Sure,
time
sure.
after. You have some good titled classes coming up. Can you talk more about what the energetics of the glands and the body wisdom class are about? And that's two different classes.
Yeah, energetic of the glands is it's working the glands. The glands are, you could say, a physicalization of the chakras in the body. Like the chakras are what they are for the energy body, but the glands are that, but for the physical body, you could say. And so they have a lot to do with how you think and emotional regulation and things of this nature, but also they have a very big impact on the will, and they have a big impact on the behavior in the prefrontal cortex. And so where it's actually a very simple class. Like I did a very complicated version, which I do quite often, and then I go, it's too complicated, and then I did a simpler version that's much stronger. And so I just get bogged down in details sometimes. But we're going to go through and work the glands, and then we're going to work some different aspects of the glands as it impacts the will. And this combination starts to impact the prefrontal cortex, and it shifts how the mind works, the body, the emotional body. I think we have a flyer coming out tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And so it'll give you a little bit more details, but it's basically the energetics of the glands, and the glands and the will are kind of hand in hand. And then it affects certain cognitive functions in the brain, specifically executive functions, which are tied to how you execute, how you behave, emotional regulation, the ability to achieve goals, monitoring your efforts and your behaviors to achieve those goals. Like, I kind of have it written out a little bit in the flyer. So. And then the other one was
Body's wisdom.
body. So that's the continuation of the body mapping. And even if you haven't had the body mapping, but we're using the triggers, or whatever you want to call. They're not quite triggers, but they're just, they get triggered, I should say. Every area of the body has like these different instinctual responses and emotional responses that then later affect how we react, how we feel, and eventually how we think. And you know, good example of this is a combination of these would produce guilt or shame or abandonment, or you know, things of this nature. And so it's not just something in the psyche, it's actually these things affect the psyche. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take these different combinations. There's like these little recipes based on the things that we learned in the body mapping, and then we do combinations. In alchemy, we would call these compounds, right? You would take these different things and compound it together and go through, do a purification process or transmutation process to address something, so that, you know, a lot of times, like when we think of abandonment, you're like, oh, I worked it emotionally, I worked it mentally, and I feel better, but I still feel it. Like the biggest part of it is actually in your physiology. So we're going to flush it out of the physiology and then through the emotions and the mind. And the key there is the thymus, and we'll be working using different blends that are associated with working alchemical processes to extract these things out of the body and transmute them, so that there's better physical better physical health, better emotional and mental like function. But again, it impacts things like behavior, but our ability to connect to other people, to the divine, whatever it might be. And it starts to change our responses to stimuli from the outer world. Like it increases the ability to turn inward, but it changes the way we react to the external stimuli. So by going through and doing this, you're actually tempering to a much higher degree the vagus nerve, you're regulating the accessory nerve, and you're starting to bring the sympathetic part of the nervous system, which is the fight flight response, under greater control of the cerebral spinal fluid mechanisms, which really super refine the mental body. Like, you know, when you have repetitive thoughts and negative thoughts or just reactive thoughts, part of it is that the sympathetic part of the nervous system is more reactive to these things in the body rather than to the influence of the brain and the higher mechanisms. And so it's not just something where you're stimulating your energy body, you're going into your physiology to produce this response. Yeah. It's very deeply healing. Yeah. You know, like so many times, I think I've said in the past, I'd have psychologists, you know, when I was working with the different groups, they'd come in and I'd say, okay, is there anything you need to, want to work on or focus on? They go, no, I've, been in therapy myself and I've, worked through all my stuff. And within 2 minutes, they'd be, they'd start crying when, just as I would start the general healing, not even going at anything specific. And, almost always they would say some version of, I don't understand why this is happening. And mentally and emotionally, it had gotten processed, but it was still trapped in the body. These things get very trapped in the body. And different issues get trapped, like they get trapped, or this area gets like agitated in the body. And if you don't know where to look, it just is always there. It doesn't matter how much you go through and process, it's just always there. So this is like changing the game. Like you're pulling it out of the body, and then you're processing it emotionally, mentally, and flushing it out. And so it's a very deep form of healing. Yeah. Very soothing. Like it's not like you're going to have to relive stuff and go, oh, that thing that happened 20 years ago. It will just float away like a butterfly. Like it's not like stuff comes up. Yeah, who doesn't love that?
And then go ahead, Ralph.
Hey, Ralph.
Hey Greg, the action of camphor versus sage for elementals and old energies in the
It,
space.
it depends on what you're doing. Like, so very good question, by the way. Like the use of camphor would be more appropriate now. If this was like 6 months down the road, you
Mhm.
would probably use more sage. Like, think of sage as like breaking up those things, but those things that are in like a pattern or a program.
Mhm.
You know, so you're breaking up the pattern in the program as you're fleshing those out. It's not quite a program or a pattern yet. There's still things running to the, the call button, the
Okay.
calling of that. And so at that point, you just chase it out with camphor.
So
You know,
camphor more cleans out the space or
Camphor brings
inhibits the arrival of something.
yeah.
Okay.
Basically, it brings in a light that repels, like those mosquito lights that you put out at night
Yep.
and they either zap it or the mosquitoes go away. It's like
Mhm.
that kind of.
Okay.
But if they've been there for a while, like camphor sometimes needs a little help. And so sage is always good about like breaking the program within the energetic program in the area, in the energy beings in the area, the nature spirits, even in us. It's sage is really good for breaking programs within us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe Cynthia will try to.
Yeah, we just have like maybe a minute, but
Okay. So just a quick question, just building on what was just being discussed. So I have some furniture that originated, it's a dining room table and chairs, but it originated in a law office. Camphor. To
sage.
break up
Sage.
all the old,
Sage. Yeah.
okay,
Just sage the crap out of
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all.
it. You're so welcome. So we're going to jump over to the Astara Prayer Bowl blessing. Sorry, we didn't get a practice in tonight, but lots of good questions. I think that was a very good conversation. And next week it's the Astara anniversary. And so we're doing a special process after our study group, like we do normal when we go over to the Prayer Bowl blessing. It's going to be an extended version that's a little bit of a blessing / ceremony for everybody who joins. And so can't make tonight, maybe make it next week because it'll be the extended version.